I'll need to use the long one.
Yeah, we'll see it for you.
Where's the other motor then?
You guys, here it is. Here he goes. Hold on to that.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
That motor's in good shape. I don't see any of the plastic cracking or any of that.
What did you write on it?
Now, this is
Good.
where
Yeah.
I had difficulty with when I was changing the belt.
That good, that bubble right there? It's good, right?
Yeah, it's good.
So I believe I changed the motor too.
Did you?
When I put the thing back
Uh-huh.
to get that around the
The belt?
yeah,
Oh man,
and get those screws going and stuff. It was
Kinda
kind of like
difficult.
you needed a couple of hands.
Sure you did.
Yeah.
In theory. Well, let me show you the easy way
You know
to do
what?
it.
That's
why
my
I want to know
fault.
the easy way.
I found something out that's really ridiculous.
Okay.
I was stuck there.
Yeah, my fault.
Well, you didn't know at the time either.
In that
Otherwise
case,
you would've
you know
told me.
what? Won't do it again, right?
No,
You
that's
learn
what I
once.
meant about the easy way.
That's the easy way.
Okay, now I'm taking this screw and I'm just backing it out. See the screw goes in?
Right.
That's what sets the tension because it pulls the plate in and out. I'm just backing it out, like you said, give it some room there so that we could do it. I didn't give it room because I knew we were going to do this. So now the motor itself screws into this, but through this plate. So you got to put the plate back in. And what I like to do, make things even easier on you, is get one screw started first. Okay, go into the corner like this. Get the screw started. That'll hold your plate into place. Push your belt through like that so you can hook the gear. Just drop it in there like so. Pull up on your plate, and now you got it started.
That just took me about a half an hour right there.
See, now you can sell even more equipment now.
There you go.
And it had to be about 140 degrees in that place, and I was sweating. It was
Figures,
dripping
huh?
all over me.
See, look at that. Done.
Yeah, it's simple.
Okay. Now what I'm going to do is, just by hand, get them all. Don't snug them up. Just get them to where they just touch the motor. Just barely touch. Get them all down where they're lightly touching, and then we're going to back them off just a little bit. Snug, 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 snug. Back them off like a quarter turn.
Otherwise,
Just
that
to release
crank
them.
won't
Otherwise it won't move.
The bracket.
Okay,
Right.
the bracket. Because now, see, the bracket slides.
Right.
But we don't want the bracket to tilt. Because if the screws are too loose, then the motor, when you go to tighten it, gets pulled on an angle. Then when you tighten the screws down, it makes it tighter, the belt. So keep it flat, very little movement angularly, but still have sliding capability. Now we redesigned this, and we no longer have the tension where the motor is. All the tensioning for the belt is done on this side, because what we did was we put a plate here with a pivot screw here and an adjustment that so that this mounts to the plate and it pivots in and out like that. So we can pull it out or push it in.
That's on the newer machine.
That's on the newer machine.
The 360, 460, 660.
Yeah.
This is the 300, which will be like this still.
Except there'll be a few
No.
kind of.
The 300's being
We
redesigned?
changed. No, we did change the 300 in the beginning of this year. So if you look at the 300s.
Right now?
Yeah,
How does that sound?
yeah, it has that on that side.
So that the only
This happens
thing
to be made in
different about
November.
that, it won't have the sliding plate down,
Right.
but he'll change the motor and everything the same.
Change the motor the same because the motor is not mounted to the bottom plate. Now the motor is mounted right to this plate.
Right. So there's no two plates involved there.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the motor just bolts on, and you do your
Uh-huh.
belt adjustment on that side.
So you change the belt the same way, you put it on the thing, and over
Everything's the same. The
here.
only thing difference is you tension it from
Okay.
that side instead of motor pulling in and out. So push the motor in all the way as far as it goes. Then come in here, put your idler pulley back on, like this. Okay. Get that all tight. So, now belt tension. Here we go. Now, how much do we tension this thing?
Yeah, that's a million-dollar question.
It's close enough.
Close enough. That's it. You're exactly
Most
right.
commonly used statement in tech support over there, right?
Yeah, just get it close up. Get your Allen wrench. Make sure you get the right size, which this is wrong. I knew it. I grabbed it. 1/16.
It's just a judgment call, right?
It's a judgment thing. No, we do have a belt tension gauge,
Oh, do you?
actually. Right? And what we do is we take this gauge. I don't have one with me.
Press it up against it and pull
You
forward.
get it like this. You put your get a ruler. You put a ruler in here, and you pull it out. Not inside. Don't put the ruler in the groove. Put it on the edge. Pull it out to 1/2 inch. Okay, and we have it set at in this particular model 175 grams. So on the little spring scale, it should be 175 grams at 1/2 inch. Okay.
I have one of those around here
Oh, you
somewhere.
do? Anyway,
That's a
we're
fish
not.
scale.
The fish scale, right? The fish that I catch, really small. So we're not going to do that because I want you to feel this. Because I don't even use a gauge. I go by feel. Okay? So, how much do we do? Alright, I'm going to start tightening this thing. The whole objective is to get it tight enough to where you remove the slack, but it's not like a guitar string.
Do you need that to be down there to do it, or
It could
does
be
it matter?
anywhere, doesn't
This
it?
little mini Allen wrench would be nice.
Well, you know what?
With a little knob
I gotta
on it.
tighten this up because the belt keeps slipping. It's pulling the belt.
Oh,
I didn't tighten that up yet, so let me put this back. Yeah, mini Allen would help.
they have those? It must.
Yeah. Okay, let's push that in. I'm going to come in here and remove most of my slack, loosen the belt. I just push it in with my fingers, remove my slack, and tighten it back up. Okay, got that? We got that. Now tighten these all the way. Get it all the way until it stops. Because we want to squeeze the snot out of the belt. Because we don't want it to slip out. It will stop when the clamps meet. Okay? And it'll cause the rubber to bulge a little bit like that. That's normal. We want that to happen. Okay, now actually, I made that too tight to start with. Gotta have a little slack there. Because then you need, so you'll have somewhere to go. Everybody okay with the time and stuff? Are we okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine.
Nobody's has
You're the one I worry about.
Nah,
That.
I'm
You
not
gotta
worried about
drive.
it. Nah.
How far are you doing?
I'm just about 2.5 hours to Hartford.
Ah.
It's not bad. I mean, hey, the benefit is there will be no traffic when I
True.
It's all.
Okay, so now we're kind of, see how this thing's kind of hanging? Like that? Hanging down. See how loose that is? That's too loose. This is our starting point there. We're going to start there, and we're going to start tightening it up. So I'm going to turn a little bit. You're going to see it starts to move up. Okay? You don't want to make it so tight that it's in there like that.
Alright.
The whole objective is that you take out the slack and feel a little tension on your finger. Too tight is no good and too loose is no good. That's about where you want to be. Go ahead and put your finger in there.
Well, I don't know about a Julie finger. That might not.
Let me see. Yes.
Okay? See how it's really not tight? That's really not loose either.
Right.
You want to go in between there. Because
So that adjustment over there, really, you could adjust it pretty far with that.
you can
that
go
plate.
really far
okay.
with it. Because if you go in and let's see how that feels. Feel that. Now that's a tight belt.
Yeah, and that was just one turn.
That was not even like a half.
Yeah.
That is no good. That's going to cause excessive belt wear. It's going to cause drive gear wear and can damage the motor because you're really pulling hard on that shaft. So we're going to back off with it. Most people over tighten the belt as opposed to under tighten
Very true.
because they think it's like a car belt.
Alternator belt.
Right.
So you just you tighten that motor and you just backed off a little on each screw.
Yeah, unscrew it so that the clamp moves actually the other way around. So the clamp moves in.
Okay, so we're back to where we need to be. Go ahead and recheck that, get a feel for it, get the idea. Big difference. Make sure that it's moving kind of freely. think that I feel that's a little tight, just a little bit. There, that's a little bit better. You can kind of see the way it reacts there. It looks kind of loose, you know.
Yeah, it does.
The way it balances, but that's okay.
One of the things that I do on the installations is I have each person, like we did at Central
Feel
Jersey, actually feel the belt and say, this is what it's got to feel like. Remember this. That's why I had them do that.
A lot of times you can remember that, like you can remember smells. I remember the stink one time. No, forget it.
Now tighten that up.
Snug these down. Don't go crazy on it. Okay. We checked to make sure it didn't change the tension, which it didn't. I already tightened that. That was okay. By the way, if I had to change it, that was so simple. Just put another one on. You saw when I took it out.
The idler pulley. Right?
Yeah.
Alright, so
Now, on this particular idler pulley, you see this rim? It's about the same as this rim. So this pulley here can kind of go in either direction. You know, it's bidirectional. Other pulleys, like the one for the newer ones, since we have a plate here, you're going to see that this is going to be thinner than this part to get it to ride in the right spot. So it will be directional. If you put it on upside down, it's going to rub over here, and it's not going to
A
move.
good thing would just, when you take it off,
Observe
pay
it.
attention.
But I wanted
which
to
way
let
it's
you
going.
know that you should pay attention
Right.
to that pulley for that reason. Okay, now you got a new belt. Now you can reuse that old
Now-
belt again at some point. If you ever go to change this, just flip it over and use the other side to pull it through. You know what I'm saying?
One question.
You didn't have to throw the belt out.
If you was to change this pulley, you'd have to loosen up the motor and
Yeah,
do that.
and
to change.
retension it. Yeah,
Okay.
you couldn't. You could do it, but you're going to put a lot of stress on the motor shaft
Right.
to try to jam it in there. Okay, now I can take scissors and cut this off. Do you have scissors?
I didn't realize how important it was to do that until I tried to run the damn thing with that like that.
Ooh, killer scissors.
They're actually not.
Now you see where I cut it? I left a little meat there. You want to. You don't want to slice it off with an X-Acto knife right on the edge, because I want a little bubble of rubber sticking out so it doesn't pull out. If you cut it all the way down like that, it'll slide out, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we did the belt thing, and now I can put this all back together and bing, away we go. But I don't want to do that yet because I want to show you arm removal. Let's say we were going to take the whole arm out. Instead of doing this right on the machine, we could have took the arm out, put it on a table, and worked on it if we wanted to.
This is going to be arm removal.
Arm removal. Okay, let's change the arm. 4 screws hold the arm down. The ones that are sticking up. 1, 2. I'll take these 2 screws out. 1, 2. The reason why I took the cutting table out is a lot of times I drop the screws down the cutting table. So, 3. They're a lot harder to find. Yeah, I'm done with that. Thank you. 3 and 4. Okay. Now on this side, you take your thumbs like this. You stand on this side of the machine. You put them against these 2 levers that are right here. You push, and you pop the arm off. Now you can see the levers right there. 1, 2. Push your thumbs against them, and you push them in. See?
Okay. Alright.
Got it?
Yep.
Now you don't have to worry about ever changing springs or anything like that. You never do that. You can look, and you can see the Y-axis bearings now. They're a lot bigger than the X-axis bearings.
Right.
So to take these out, this is what you said, they're Allens. So you take the shoulder screw out, and away you go. Now these bearings here, they're symmetrical on both sides, so you don't have to worry about the direction that they go in. They go in either direction.
Does it have a preload washer?
And it doesn't have a preload, because we're using the weight of the arm to preload. Okay? So we
And it
don't have
doesn't
springs.
What does
Oh, that's
that
right.
mean to
Okay.
preload? What is that? What's that terminology? I've
Okay.
never heard of that before.
The bearing has, you get some radial play in a bearing, or I guess you'd call it
Yep.
that. And you get the little slop of.
Inside you have the inner and outer races of bearings. Let's say this is an inner race and you've got the ball bearing, and then you have an outer race like this. Ball bearings like this. Okay? What happens is a little gap here, and this can kind of move in and out.
Okay.
to force this edge into the ball bearing so that it doesn't have a radial play into it, we push a spring on the inner race. This is the inner race. We push this part in, so it makes this a nice tight fit right here and here.
And that's what the preload is?
Yeah.
Okay.
But since the arm is heavy, the arm is actually pushing on
Right.
on the racers,
Down.
keeping it tight.
Okay.
But on here, we have no play. We have no way of forcing anything because we're horizontal. So we have to put a spring to push the bearings in, the ball bearings. Okay.
I saw that one, yeah.
Alrighty. So let's go ahead and put this back in. Very simple. Just put the screw in, and away you go. People hardly ever change the Y bearings.
Very rare.
Unless, like architects will model,
Architects or modelers.
they will do it because everything they do is vectors.
Yeah.
So they have just as much Y movement as they do X movement.
All lines.
So most people that raster engrave, hey, look at how beautiful.
So when they make this, it has to be perfect because it's to scale. And that's a very, I mean,
These bearings out, you just rotate it, just unscrew it, put it back in and let it go. Okay. But that's pretty much it for the arm. Nothing else to it. So let's put that off to the side for a sec.
So you took 4 screws out, you pulled out those bearings on the springs and lifted her up. And
It's
pulled
done.
it
You're going to put it back in. All right, now, before we go there, let's just talk about the Y. We're not going to take it apart. Let's kind of just talk about it. Look at the clamping mechanism. You see how it's a sandwich? You got one piece on the bottom, one piece on the top. Same sort of situation. It's one belt that's met up at the end. So what you do is to take this out, you unscrew this, slide it out, get the new belt, staple it, pull it through, meet the two ends, and clamp it together. Okay, now the tensioning mechanism is a little different. We're using these screws over here. Now they're flathead screws. Okay, the flathead screws serve two purposes. It holds the idler pulley in as well as it provides tension. So I come in here, if I take, I'll show you what I'm talking about. I take the screw out. It's kind of tight back here. Since they're flathead, you see there's an angle there?
That's all it's doing, huh? For tension.
That's all it's doing. So here you got the shaft. A little dirt on the shaft. There's your idler pulley. Now you notice how this side's thicker than that side. If you notice the clamp, see the way the clamp is? That side's thicker on that side. So if you try to put it in wrong, it's kind of jam up. Always use the other side as your reference. If you forget which way it goes, you look at this side. Always take out one side at a time. Okay, well here's your idler pulley. If you have to change it, just put another one in. Got your shaft. Like
So
this.
if you had a little rough go going back and forth, it could be that.
Yeah, it could be. But usually there's something just on the rail here. We don't replace these things. So, now we take it, we put it in there like so. Okay. We put our screw in.
Imagine you have to be pretty tighten that up as best you can because otherwise it's going to be cockeyed, isn't it?
Well, that's a good question. What you got to do is when you tighten these things
Oh, you might have
down,
to loosen. I see.
get them equal, okay?
Right.
Just eyeball it. Otherwise, yeah, you will be a little cockeyed.
which for architectural modeling purposes
Can be a
is a
problem.
nightmare.
Yep.
For everyone else, no big deal.
Yep. So we're going to go in there like this. I'm going to start these screws
The
down.
tension is 1/8 of an inch.
Here we go. It's loose, right? You can feel the tension on this one. Go ahead and grab that side. Feels a little bit different than the x-axis, mainly because I didn't tension that yet. But check this one out. Mainly because it's a shorter length, a lot shorter. The shorter the length the arm is, the more tighter it feels. The longer it is, the looser it feels.
Plus it's a down.
At the same tension, right? So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to start tightening it. As I'm tightening the screw, the pulley's moving out. See it? Like that. But it's also moving on an angle, so you want to kind of do it equally. Just eyeball it. You're looking at the thing, see if it's kind of on straight. Not too bad. Make sure your tension is about the same. Okay? And away you go. That's looking pretty good. Yeah, that looks kind of straight. I would say that that's good. It's about equal. That may feel just slightly looser than this. Grab them both at the same time. See how they feel.
Yeah, slightly.
Slightly, right? What do you think? Does one feel slightly looser than the other?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. So you can equal it up.
It's so simple too.
Yeah, just get in there and just kind of give it a little bit more. A little bit more, like that. And about equal. That's about it. Good enough. Okay? Now, I don't care where that was, because this can be slightly skewed. It doesn't really matter where this is, because we wouldn't use that to adjust. If we need to get that going straight, we loosen the coupler, like for squaring, right? Once we loosen one of the screws on the coupler, then we've got freedom, independent movement here. Now I can sit there and I can line them suckers up, get them kind of eyeballed straight, and then I can drop the arm in. But as far as wide belt, like I said before, disconnect the bracket, staple together, pull it through, reclamp the bracket, and use that to tension. Okay? Wide drive gear, we never change that. Don't worry about it. Even if we ever did, when you remove the belt, if you loosen the shaft, the coupler here, you can pull the shaft out of the pulley. The pulley will just fall out. You hold another one in place, shove it through, and tighten the screw. That's it. But I don't even show that because we don't do it. Y motors. Ever change the Y motor? I don't ever plan on.
Very rarely do you even change the Y bearing except in
Yeah.
vector cutting applications.
Yeah, here's the Y motor right here. Let's say you had to change the Y motor. All you would do is
the coupling back.
slide the couplings off to the side, loosen all the screws to the coupling, like this. Slide it off the edge. Like that. Now you can see the Y motor.
Yeah.
Right? 3 screws right here on the bottom. Take the 3 screws out, the whole motor assembly comes out, you unplug it, slap another one in there. When you get it in there, you see the shaft? See where the shaft is? The shaft is kind of lined up. Kind of move it around to get the shafts as close as possible to be in line with each other.
Would you want to almost tighten the couplings down first and then tighten the motor down after, so that way it'll line itself
Yes
up?
and no. Do whichever way you can to minimize that. I like to just come in here and just line it up visually, get it close enough, and away you go. Because you've got a lot of movement with these couplers. Because if you look at the coupler, you got a lot of play there.
Let's bring it in.
Okay. All right. Then put the coupler about halfway, so that you've got stuff going on. Now keep this in mind. If you ever to loosen this shaft up and you go to retighten everything, look at the drive gear. Now watch this. If you take this, you see how you can move it left and right? You don't want it all the way to one side or the other. You want to kind of want it in the middle. So just eyeball it. It's just so it doesn't touch either side, and then tighten your coupler. Okay? Because then it'll start rubbing. You don't want it to rub because it can offer excessive resistance and cause it to slip in that direction. Okay, now where I put these on, I have no idea whether it's going to be good or not. Kind of eyeballing, that's kind of skewed. Let me loosen it again. Kind of get it close. It doesn't really matter because we can adjust it later on.
The same way we adjusted it last time, right?
Yeah. That's exactly what we're going to do. Just get it close, tighten the screw. Okay, we're really concentrating to put the arm in. So let's go ahead and put the arm in. So I'm going to let you do it. Let me describe this to you first, before you do it. You hook it in on that end. You take your 2 thumbs, you push in on this, and clamp it down.
Kevin, clamp it.
What's that other DB9 for down there?
That's for the rotary fixture.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, now watch you got to watch this side, though. You got to get the screws to come into these big holes. See those 3 screws? 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
They go into those big holes. Almost. You're not in. You're not in. Make sure you're not in. Try it again. You'll know when you're in. Those screws will pop through.
It's just
Gotta make sure these
clamp
screws
it.
go in.
Clamp it.
Yep. I don't think you're in. Push on those things harder.
Come on, Kevin, push on those things harder.
There you go. Now
Sounded
they're in.
good.
Would you like to try? Take it out. Put it back in.
Is it hard, Kevin?
What's that?
Is it hard to do?
I don't think I can do it, Julie.
You just did it.
Push in.
Push in like it. Oh. Uh-oh.
Oh, you broke it now.
Didn't sound good.
Yeah, you're okay.
Sounded like something fell off.
No, I probably went.
Oh,
like that.
okay.
Start on an angle, come in on an angle, hook the bearing in, over the top, get the 3 screws, there you go. Push it on the 2 pivots.
Then what do you? In which direction you? Okay.
Push your thumb right here and here.
Oh, okay, okay.
Got
I
it?
got you now, yeah.
Push in.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Now you're not down.
Oh.
Sometimes when the machine ships, this
It can
thing
pop
clips
out.
up, and so the first thing you have to do is
Got
actually
it?
push
All
this
right, you
right
got
back
it.
in
Great.
on an install.
Yeah, sometimes it pops out. We're gonna work on that. Get that.
That didn't sound right, man.
It's not done yet.
Okay.
Because it's totally not square. See it?
Oh.
We gotta square it up now. But the first thing we're gonna do, we'll attempt to get it square, close. Just gonna push it in. Now all my couplers are all screwed up. I can't even get to the screws because I just clamped them wherever. I'm just gonna loosen everything up here. That's why I didn't care where it was gonna start. Loosen everything up.
Can you see, Joe?
Get them in the right position, like that. Then I'll get these in the right position so I can access them while the arm is in place, like so. There. Now we're really connected because we have to put all the screws in because right now it's rubbing against the whole thing. Get everything started and going. You have to pull up on the belt so the teeth will grab. Don't go crazy on it. It's thin aluminum. Just snug them down. Okay. 2 on that side. Pull up on the belt. On this side, and then once we get this tight, now we can go back and redo everything as far as making all the screws tight. Snug, 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 snug.
Oh, I see. That sounds so much better.
Now we pull it in. Let's loosen up this. Make sure that our shaft is in the center. See? Gonna kind of stick it in the center. Tighten that up. This one over here.
Did you guys hear the difference between before it was like and now? I hear that.
Not yet. I'll wait till it's all tightened up. Maybe.
Yeah, but you see, why I'm pointing that out is sometimes you'll actually go to a place and you move the thing and you hear that it sounds like it's
Not normal.
It sounds like it's rubbing, like
Yeah.
it's metal against metal,
Yeah.
and you know that it's the Y-axis then. You know that it's probably cockeyed. That's the telltale sign. Sometimes over the phone, you could ask them to turn the machine off and move the thing back and forth and listen for that.
Okay, the last thing we do is make sure that we pivot, see? And readjust that.
Beautiful.
Hear that thumping?
Yeah. It's bearing.
Something's on something here. We're rolling against something. Yeah. Oh, I felt it right there. All right, touching there, touching there. I'm making sure that my belt's the same on both sides, which it is. Push it out here and check these 2 bearings. Take your 2 fingers like this and just spin these 2 bearings. You should feel
Friction.
a little bit of resistance, right? If it's like a skateboard wheel and you're spinning it freely, it's no good. Now those 2 sides will always have friction because each one
Spring on it.
is independently spring-loaded. But on this side, they're not. It's depending on this pivot joint and how square it is within the arm. So take your two fingers and roll them. You should feel them both touching the rail. Got it?
Yeah, you feel it.
Right. You'll know when it's not. So it'll feel like
Even
this.
felt that bearing over there. I felt that scratch.
You feel that little scratch?
Yeah.
Yep. Now here, I'm going to simulate a problem with it not touching. So I'm going to mess up the pivot a little bit just to show you what I'm talking about. There. Okay, now feel it.
Yeah, one is tight.
One is completely
Yeah.
free.
Yeah.
That'll cause you great havoc as far as quality of vectors. That will be all over the place.
And the dink went away, so that's a way to tell if it's the bearing
It's moving in that
by
side
actually
moving.
taking it off.
Yeah, see the ding. Yeah, no, that bone, we dinged it a little bit. It's okay.
It was the bearing.
That's very tight though.
Well, they're supposed to be even.
Here's a trick. Look at this. See that hole?
That's funny.
That's what the hole was designed for. To
Focus tool.
tell you the truth, that's not a
Why did you
focus
take it
tool.
back up? Oh, just to look at it.
Is that what that hole was designed for?
Look, see what we did? We dinged it.
Oh boy.
How did we
It's
do
alright.
that?
Oop. When we put it on, we must have slammed it a little too hard or something.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Where?
There. I see it.
I'm gonna get a little close up on that.
Oh yeah.
You see the ding?
It's a ding.
Let me see here.
Let me see that dome.
I felt that we dinged it. I felt it go. Right.
Right there? Oh.
See the ding?
Don't you see it?
Oh, it's big.
Oh, you see it?
Oh, yeah.
There's the ding.
I hear the crack.
See that? I want to
Crack,
get
it's,
a
it's
little.
a dent.
Dented.
Yeah.
See that?
Got dented.
Okay, Vinny, this is the thing.
What's the ding?
That ding bad.
What's wrong with this ding?
Okay, well I got another one.
I think it's so little. Why would it?
Yeah, but you feel that thump? As it was going back
Yeah.
and forth? Brr, 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 brr. Usually,
We
Because
have
it's
Y
right in that
bearings, huh?
Y.
there
I
you
don't
go.
even see it.
What's that?
We have Y bearings. Huh?
Yeah, we do.
You got one now?
We should.
Bruce, did you get some masking tape, put it on there, and just put the word ding on that?
Sure, except I don't even see
With the
it.
Sharpie?
Here, it's on the rubber, the black.
Here.
Right.
This way we know we have an extra one that's dinged. We have to give one away.
Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and re-loosen these two screws so that we're okay. They're both touching. They both have friction. No more da-ding, da-ding, da-ding. No more thumping.
So you could change both those bearings through that hole there.
Yeah, if you had to do that side. I take the whole arm out. It's fine.
And your motor.
If you want to change Y bearings, you can take both of them out through this hole, and then these right here just pop out the spring and get them right from the top. See?
You still have to get those screws out of there, though.
No, you can do it all without taking the arm out. That's why the hole is there. This hole will get the bottom ones out, and this you get from the top.
Oh, yeah, right.
You don't have to
It's
take the
excellent.
arm out. That's really what the hole is there for.
That's so funny.
Not for the focus tool, but people drop it down there and say, hey, look at that, perfect spot.
That's funny.
Okay, so we're done with the X-axis arm. We're finished. We rebuilt it. Let's put the focus carriage back on. Here. Now, this has to stay in the 10 o'clock position. Okay, 10, 10:30, maybe 11. That's fine. Not 1 o'clock. When you take the carriage, you start with this side, hold it slightly clockwise, and rotate counterclockwise. Go up and over the top.
I just remember it as that thing has to be on the inside.
Right. Because you'll see it. If you stand here and you look at it, you should not see the bottom bearing. If you're looking at it, you see the bottom bearing hanging on the left
Right,
side,
yeah.
Right,
then you
over
know
here.
it's on wrong. So everybody should practice
Is that what you did?
putting this on. Go ahead. Start it at about 2 o'clock.
Gotta hold the arm.
Get the bottom bearing. That's it. Get the bottom bearing in. Rotate it real good. Yeah, that's it. Get the bottom bearing in the groove, up and over the top. That's it. But be careful you don't ding those bearings, because if you slam it real hard, you can put a little ding in it.
One thing the bearing.
One thing, and take it off the same way.
Yep, take it off the same way.
And when you do demonstrations from a sales perspective, I take that on and off every time to show them that they self-adjust.
Yep.
That's important.
Right. Easy enough.
With it attached to the belt.
Simple enough.
Let me in.
You wanna do it again? Yep.
Now, if you had it in the 1 o'clock position, there's no
Just thinking.
there's
Go
no
on to
spring,
what I think.
there's no more spring tension in the 1 o'clock position. Is that why?
Just none at all, right? It'll just rock all over the place. It won't even be pulling the bearings. Okay. Now let's take this and reattach the clamp to the focus carriage. Now hopefully when we're done we don't have any screws left over. Which we don't. So far.
Did you ever rebuild a carburetor in a car?
Oh yeah, and
Also-
transmissions.
Also had screws left over.
That's how I got this big coffee can full of extra screws. That's why they hired me for this job, because I'm an ASC certified auto mechanic.
Oh yeah?
I went to school and everything for all that stuff. And I know electrical engineering, so between the two, they said this guy's mechanical and electrical. Perfect for the position. Okay, that's it. We hooked that back together. Nice and smooth. Last thing we gotta do is put the cover on
Let's get your, oh, that,
here.
oh, that's where the...
That's
okay.
the motor hooks
Right,
up
right.
into here. Goes in only one way. Can't make a mistake. Most people forget to hook up the motor and it doesn't work. Over the top, we've got 3 screws here. Phillips head, which is here.
Don't magnetize them or no?
There it is. 1, 2, 3. Okay, make sure the plunger's okay. Hook in your cable like this. Clicks into place. Now push this back slowly and make sure it doesn't hit the flag. Make sure your flag is nice and straight. It doesn't hit your plastic part. Make sure it goes right in between. Oh yeah, glorious. Cool. That's all hooked up. Last thing, we put the cover on over here. Like that.
Now on the V's and X's, that motor is going to be different.
Yes. Yes, yes,
Still got a
yes.
serial number, right?
What's that?
Serial number tells them all out there, right?
Well, the M300 is like this, and then the M360, the V, and the X, all the other ones have a different motor
I'll show you the
system.
motor. I have it with me. Okay, make sure that your plunger's still plunging. Everything's all nice and bundled up, and we can turn it back on, see where we're at.
If it blows up,
Your beam's going to be off.
More water?
Yes.
More water?
Thank you. Yes.
I'll take some.
sure don't want any soda?
Nah, not a soda drinker, really.
Okay, Larry, right?
Here's the motor for the MXs and Vs. Quite large. Of course, that's why they go faster, 75 inches per second. As opposed to these are 45 inches per second. Well, so the difference is, if you look at how it's mounted, you see these 3 screws is not what hold the motor down. The mounting of the motor is from the bottom. Okay, so if we ever had a change of motor on an M360, V460, or X660, you can't really get to the screws from the bottom because it's mounted on a plate like that from the bottom, but the plate is an L bracket like this, and there are 2 screws that actually mount it to this arm. So what you would do, thank you, is you take the arm out and you're looking at the arm this way, you'll see 2 screws. You take the 2 screws out and the whole thing comes out, and then you can get to the bottom and take it off. Unfortunately, I don't have cluster here to show you.
But the good news, though, is on those systems we have instructions.
Yeah,
On the M300s we don't.
yeah, I gotta look.
But there are physical instructions, step by step, on what to do. So it's even
For
easier
that motor or
to
Yeah, with
replace.
this motor.
To
You
replace
got it,
them.
right?
Yeah, I've got them.
Yeah, you can see that if you have
So
to.
what you would do then, it has a cover like this?
Well, it's quite a different cover. It's got heat sinks and all.
So you take the cover off,
Kevin and
disconnect
Send Kevin and Larry the files.
All you would do, actually, no, not take any covers off at all. What you would do
Yeah.
Latest stuff.
is just disconnect the cable, pop up the arm by taking the screws out, get the arm off, and then the whole assembly, this whole piece, the cover and the motor and the bracket, all comes out with those 2 screws I was telling you about. So if you looked at it from the side this way, you'll see the 2 screws into this plate right here. You take those 2 screws out, the whole cluster comes out.
then
And that's
you take
what's
it out,
replaced.
you rebuild it on the bench and then move it back in and put the
You
two
can
screws
rebuild
in.
it on the bench. There's 2 ways to do it. To make things easier, we have a whole replacement cluster. That you can take the whole thing,
Oh, just
drop
put
it
a
in.
new one in.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then we can rebuild it back at the factory
Yeah,
because
that's
it's got
nice.
sinks and stuff
Uh-huh.
like that. Or you can take the whole thing apart, put that new motor in, put it all back together. It's up to you, but we have the clusters as a
That's
replacement.
even easier.
It's easier. We'd rather you do that because we have these clusters available. We just want all the old parts back so that we can rebuild it for the next one. Because a lot of it is just heat sinks and stuff
Right.
like that that are reused.
So order it,
Order it as a cluster.
take it off over here,
Yeah,
bring it up, 2 screws, pull it out, put the new one in, put that on, and you're done.
exactly.
Great.
And you've got some instructions.
Yeah, I have
We
instructions.
have instructions to do that.
Pictures and everything. Okay? Okay, let's turn it back on and let's recheck the beam alignment. Because it's going to be off. Especially because we put the bearings on right this time. It's amazing. You can say, look, I put the bearings on backwards and it still ran like a champ.
Very true, though. It's been about a year since I replaced
If you
them.
put them both on backwards, you probably wouldn't have noticed, right?
Probably not. Okay. You can escape. Preferences. Diagnostics. Alignment mode. There's our light. It's looks kind of low now. So let's take that. Go ahead and adjust it.
Okay, shouldn't I adjust it in there?
No. The only reason why I adjusted it is we brought the red dot on top of the CO2. That shouldn't have moved. That should still be the same. If we want to fire the dot, we can see that the red dot and the CO2 are in the same spot.
I think it's a little to the right.
Yeah, it's a little to the right and a little down. You can see it fairly well from the back side.
Looks good to me.
Go up further.
Okay.
I think that looks good. Okay, we're covered. Okay, now we can go back and burn a hole, but we know it's in the same spot, so we don't have to worry about it. Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Actually, I think, to tell you the truth, I think that's a little to that side.
Yeah, you're right.
It's just a little to the left. So go ahead and bring it over a little to the right. Now let me put a fresh piece of tape here, because what happens is sometimes it's an optical illusion when you look at the other dot.
Right.
So you always put a fresh piece, so the other dot doesn't throw you off. Okay, so let's put this in. As I was telling you before, when you go to change something, let's say you go to change the lens. If you go ahead and you tighten these screws up, you don't get it right. It might be cockeyed like to the side like this. So when you go to screw it in, you're forcing it on an angle. Matter of fact, it's even stuck right now. So the best thing to do is when you go to once I change this lens, you're gonna get it in there and leave it loose. You see there's two hooks here, little grabbers, little shells. It slides in this little notches right here and it kind of holds it down. So you push it in, it's holding the lens down and at the right angle. You come in here, put your screws in here so that the plate is straight. And then you tighten your lens.
That goes the same for the mirror too?
Now the mirror's different. No, you're going to look at the mirror differently. So the lens is going to, we're going to say that it's good. It's snug in there. Okay. Whoops, I flushed it. Who cares? We're going to turn on the red dot. Now, you have a mirror, small mirror.
You have a small mirror, Joe? This?
Yeah, what is it?
It's acrylic.
Oh, that was a broken mirror.
Okay. If you look at this, I want you to stand here. And I want you to look right at the, put your head right about here so the red dot is close to the screw on an angle. And I want you to move your head back and forth and kind of get this whole box centered visually. Okay, like you're looking straight down on this thing. And then eyeball the red light and see if the red light is centered or not. Sometimes you can see it, sometimes you can't. But basically you want to pretend your whole body's a plumb bob, you know, and you're trying to see if the red light is really in between. And I use this screw as the reference.
You one eye it?
Yeah, well, if you one eye it, yeah.
Looks like the beam's a little to the right.
Okay, that's your opinion. Next, I want to see. What do you think?
Beating that right.
Right? About how much? Yes.
16.
Okay.
Is this mirror right over
Yeah,
there?
great. And then I could use it later. Cover up some spots.
Okay.
Now where is it? Which side is it? On the right or to the left? I think it's in a reflection, you know.
Yeah, I mean it's.
Look at the
It
red dot.
almost looks okay. I mean,
Well, look at the red dot compared to the circle at the bottom. Look at the red dot's position on the lens.
oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
Okay, as far as the lens is concerned, where is it left and right on the lens?
It's a little bit.
Which side? It's not
Down and to the right, isn't it?
Think so?
Unless I'm looking at it backwards, thinking of the wrong. I'm looking at
Don't
the
think
wrong
of it as a mirror image. Look at the red light. Look at the rim of the circle, and look at the red light's relationship to the
Okay.
rim.
Okay.
Okay, well what I did, the dot's in the center now, you see?
Yes, sir.
Now, in order to make it go in the center, all I do is do this. You loosen these two screws up here with a Y mirror. See if you move it around,
okay.
you can move it around a little bit. So you kind of get it to where you want it to be.
See the screws.
Okay.
And tighten the screw and get it in the center. Now that went a little too far to the right. So I'm going to move it.
Even if this one missing.
Oh, okay. That's not hard.
Kind of play with it a little bit.
Dave Hodge in the background.
Green light and a red light, it's no good. What do you see?
saw that.
You saw that? Boy, when I stuck my hand in front of it.
Yes.
That's saying that the beam is being blocked.
Okay.
But open, wide open, you should only see green. Green is good, red is bad. green and red is bad. Anything besides just green is not good. So you might see a flickering or whatever. Clean it. Get your cloth. I like to just put a little bit of water on the cloth like this. Okay? And just kind of dampen it a little bit and go right across the face of the sensor.
The sensor is that blurry red.
And the reflector is on this side over here. It's like one of those bicycle reflectors.
Yeah, but
See it over
Every
here?
auto-focusing has to be right in that line right there.
Yes, absolutely. That's why there's a dent in the ruler. See the indentation
Oh,
between
yeah.
the 2 and 3 inch, 1 and 3 inch marks? That's where the sensor's going across the table. But before we set anything, you got to make sure that this thing is clean. You got a green light. But before we do that, we're going to set the rulers because we just did the beam alignment. Now the rulers are off. The field has moved. We've shifted everything. We took the whole thing apart. We put it back together. Now the rulers are not going to be in the right place. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the table. First of all, make sure that our X and Y is rehomed properly. Okay, now we rehomed it because I accidentally moved it like that before, so let's rehome it. Okay, we're covered. Now I'm going to press my Z and we're going to focus. And how do you focus? Here's the focus tool. We're going to focus right on the table. It has 2 notches, 1 notch, 2 notch. Don't worry about this notch. What we're doing is we're going to take the edge of the front part of the carriage, this edge right here. We're going to put the tool up against it like this, and we're going to move the table up until the edge hits the top of the notch. And then we want to stop. Okay, so we're going to bring the table up. We're moving it up fast because the cursor's on the first digit. Now we get it close. Hit the select key to bring it over to the second digit and move it up slowly.
What kind of damage if someone accidentally had it underneath that?
Well, it can spring load it and pop it up a little bit, or they can jam it through the lens and break it. So you gotta be careful. So I'm looking at it from the top like this. I've got it up against it and I'm watching it. I'm clicking it 1 shot at a time. Click, click. And you're gonna see it pull out, watch. There, see it move out? Once it moves out, just push it back down to let it go back into place. Right. So, here, you guys do it. This is up or down? Now you move it fast. You want to go slow, let me know.
Okay, I want to go slow.
Okay, now look and see the cursor?
Yep.
It's on the second digit. Press select. Goes to the first digit. Now it's going to move slow.
Oh, okay. Oh, there it goes. Okay, moves outward.
Okay, so hit it back down. Just move it back down. You want it where it just starts to move out. Oh, you're still too far. There you go.
Out there?
Uh-huh. Got it.
Back down.
Yeah.
Press this one to get this.
Select.
Oh,
Okay, there you go. Now what I suggest you do, which we really don't have much time today, we're going over the maintenance and all this kind of stuff, but you got to play around with the machine for quite a few days. You got to go in, you got to move the things up in there, you got to go through the menus, you got to do all this stuff. You got to read the manual. Okay? I'm showing you stuff that you visually need to see, but there's no way we can do this in one day to teach you how everything works. So you got to spend time doing this. Red light comes on, and now we can shoot to the 4 corners, like fingers, and we can see if the rulers are lined up properly. Now they don't look too bad, almost look perfect, except if you look at the red dot, it's not at the 0 point, it's off a few to the right, isn't it? Slightly off to the right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to loosen the rulers and readjust. So I'm going to come in like this. This is the wrong size, I know it.
you do that with the red beam now instead of the tape?
Yeah, you don't have to use the tape. As long as your red beam is where the CO2 is.
True that.
Loosen the screws. Just loosen them. Don't take them out. Crack them.
Yeah, because you have to hold it from the
You get all
bottom.
the screws from the bottom because they go through the table. By loosening the screws, you can see that the rulers move now, see?
What, they have their, even though they're countersunk, they're still going to move?
They're not countersunk.
Oh.
It's only
Is this-
countersunk
Oh, I see.
on the top, but there's a big hole in the table, and the screws go completely through the honeycomb table.
Just every time there's a beam on?
Yeah, I would reset your rulers, sure, because you know they're going to be off. Now, it gets a little sticky because some gooey stuff gets underneath the rulers. It makes it harder for you to... There. Okay. What I like to do is take the rulers and push them away from where we're going. Push them out. Alright. You take your top ruler, you move it over, you get it so that the red dot...
Just kick that thing down so it's locked. No.
Okay.
The red light is right on the 0 point. You see that? You want the red dot to be right on the 0, right on the ruler, and then slowly push it off until it hits the table. You want to be on the table, not on the ruler. But left and right, you want the dot to be on the 0 point. So you go right there. Boom. Okay? Watch fingers. And tighten this one. So you do the 0 point first. Top ruler, 0, off the edge. Shoot over to the right. Boy, a lot of gooey stuff on this. Underneath this. Right there. Yeah, I'm trying to put some side force on it so I don't have to grab the nut at the bottom. Usually, now, I got it. There. Okay. And then we do the one in the middle. Now, the top ruler set. Now I'm going to take the right side of the left ruler and put it up against the left side of the white line. You don't want to be on the white line or over the white line. The white line's here, you want the ruler edge to be here, because you want the dot to be on the white line. So right about...
So that's actually the end of the page then.
Yep. Right there. Tighten that baby down. And then over here, you use the dot. You look through the front door. Be right on the edge. Okay, that's it. That's setting your rulers. Now your ruler shouldn't be that far off from when you started. Even if we took the whole thing out, put it back together, it wasn't really off that bad. To final check everything, make sure that everything's kind of square. Take a regular sheet of white paper. Plain paper. Just take plain paper, stick it over here into the corner, and check. You should be nice and square. Look at that. Okay? So that way. This paper is very square. Don't use like engraving stock or anything like that because it's never square. Go ahead and put that in. Look at that, it's beautiful. So we did everything right. That's telling us that our arm was square. We did that right. We set the rulers right. We're good to go. Okay. No. What we're going to do is we're going to flash the machine to a newer firmware version. Okay. Let's say we run into a problem that the only fix is to upgrade the firmware, the operation of the machine. You make sure that it's plugged in. You make sure your computer's on, and you go ahead and turn on the machine. Go down to preferences. Go down to about. And it tells you version 18.16.9.9. Okay? M300. What it means is just different parts of the processor. Input, output, I/O, U-step, which is the microcontroller, and a version of Xilinx. It means nothing to you. All the thing that you have to know is that as the numbers go up, it's the later version. Okay, so the newer version may be 20, 17, 10, 12, whatever, then you'll know it's a newer version.
What's in the newer version right now, as opposed to what that is?
Well, it depends on what version we're going to, as opposed to what was in this one.
Okay.
There may be some bug fixes or something like that.
Okay.
We're just going to upload it because I don't have the sheets with me on what the different versions are.
Okay.
But let's say, for example, you run into a situation and you call up the service department and the guy says, you know what, we got a fix for that. You ran into something. Just flash upgrade the system. Do a firmware upgrade. So they'll email it to you if it's a new one. What I do, if it's a big thing, then I just email it to everybody and you'll have it here. I send it up to Vince and he'll have it so you can get it from him or whatever. Right now I just happen to have some stuff on disk. We're going to go ahead and do it. That's the version, and I'll show you what the latest version is. We don't need CorelDRAW, we don't need anything.
All right.
Except,
Switch to that.
we'll put the disk in, and we're going to go ahead and go to Windows Explorer. And go to the disk. It's an M300 platform. Here it is. Okay, the newer version is 23.21.14.09. That's far up there. That's kind of old firmware. Whoops. That firmware is 18.16.99.
1997.
No, that's not the version. That's just copyright notice. We're at 23 to 18. So there's probably 6 or 7 versions that we've had just to fix some small things here and there. Obviously, you haven't run into much of anything, have you? So I probably never noticed what the problems were with this firmware. But this should be fine. Now, you are hooked to LPT1, right? All right.
Click that to B.
Okay, now, when we send out firmware, there's 2 files. There's the number, which is the firmware itself, and then there's a firmware LPT1, LPT2, LPT3. If you happen to be hooked to LPT1, all you do is just double click on LPT1, it'll shoot it out the port and send it to the machine. If it's hooked to LPT2, then do that one or that one. It just assigns it to a different port. Now all this stuff that I'm telling you, showing you right now, is right here in the instructions. So you can walk that step by step. I'm just going to show you. Because it goes by pretty quick, but reading the instructions will take you a while. So I'm just going to come over here and double click on this. And there it goes. Bada bing, bada boom. It shot it out the port. It should be in the machine in a couple seconds. Oops.
I'm used to like cereal with the engravers. You got to count up to 100, you know, that was quick with the barrel of work.
There it is. Flash upgrade. Make sure all your doors are closed. We're ready to go, like you were actually engraving a file. Press the start button. Clock's going to start ticking away. It's going to take about 30-35 seconds.
To what? To communicate to the...
To finish. It's uploading right now. It's reprogramming the chip.
But it's all within here now.
It's
It's
all
not
within
the
there.
computer.
It's not connected to the
Chips
computer.
with the tape on.
Right. Reprogramming those two right
That's
now.
what we were talking about.
Exactly. You got it. As soon as it's done, it'll tell you. Turn the machine off, wait 15 seconds, turn the machine back on. You only have to wait 15 seconds.
Kind of like rebooting.
Yeah. Turn power off, wait 15 seconds, turn power on. So we'll turn it off. Just wait for the fans to drop out. And then go ahead and turn it back on. That's our 15 seconds. Beep. Now, if this didn't come up and it doesn't go to ready, something happened with the flash. And it didn't flash right. Maybe there was a data file corruption or something went wrong. In that case, you might have to go to the CPU and jumper it.
But I try to find that version just because
Yes,
it's
go ahead. Escape. Preferences, select. All the way down to about. Select. There it is. 23211409.
Now, in the old days, this used to involve an EEPROM chip, and it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
It just was easy.
So easy that it is. Now, there's only one problem with this. The problem is when you flash update, it resets a bunch of stuff that you got to reset. Two things: focus height and autofocus. So we're going to have to set it. So what we do, it's actually pretty simple. It's just a few steps involved. You first make sure that there's nothing underneath the table because we have to rehome the Z. So we'll go to Z, press Z. See there's a negative number at negative 8.68. Go down to rehome the Z, press select. Now it's going to move the table all the way down till it makes contact with that home sensor. And then we'll bring the table back up.
What do you got to do? Reset the focal point? On
Yes,
that?
right. We have to make sure that
It's 2 inches away.
that it's actually 0. When we put this on the table and we focus on the table, that number reads 0.
You don't have to reset that number right now, or?
No, it won't do it. Now what's going to happen, it's going to home. It's going to say 0 now, but when we bring it up,
okay.
it's not going to be 0.
Right.
So we bring it up. And we're going to focus on the table. And once we focus on the table using the tool, we're going to set focal length, and that will 0 it out for us.
You're right there.
I was right on there, wasn't I? Exactly.
But you were throwing a hamburger up at the deli, you'd get it right on the money.
That's right. Now,
Deli skill.
we're on the table. Set focal length. Press select. Are you sure? Yes. We want it to read 0 when we're focused with the tool on the table and the lens is showing 2.0 because we have the 2.0 lens in place.
It's autofocus.
No, this is regular focus. We haven't done autofocus yet. There's actually 3 ways to focus with this system. You've got manual focus with using the tool. We have table height focus, which is we'll actually use those numbers. And then the third way is autofocus, where we just put the piece in and hit the button.
So, because you're zeroing it right now, you're setting this position. I mean, that means if you ever want the table to be zeroed, like the way you just said it there with the piece, all you have to do is bring the numbers up to 0. That's it.
Yes.
Yep.
Then you're right on focus on the table. Exactly. The reason why we're doing this is to program in the second method of focusing. If I just wanted to use the tool and never use the other 2 methods, I wouldn't even be concerned with this. Because I just put the tool on a material, move it till the tool moves, and you stop it and away you go. This is why most people don't even do this,
Yeah, this is rare.
because they don't
Because
use it.
why do you need the focus to the table is the point, right?
Because if you're using 1/4 inch material, you can set this number to 1/4 inch.
Oh, okay.
Right, look, this is a 1/2 inch roll of tape, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now I can put that in there, use the tool and focus on it, but I know it's a 1/2 inch. So all I do now is go over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there it is, and I know I'm focused on it. I don't even need to use my tool. That's the thickness method.
Numeric,
thickness.
workflow, mathematics.
Yeah, it's right on.
Very few people use it. It's either the autofocus or the focus tool.
Yeah, that's that way. But obviously, if your number wasn't 0 when you were focused on the table, that number would be completely screwed. It was negative 8.3.
It's down there.
Yeah, it was negative 8.3. It's not going to work for us.
So if they ever did decide to turn around and want to do it that way, we will see.
Exactly. So if you're there and you I'm going to bring it back to 0. Okay. Now, if I come down here, you can see current lens. If I press select, the 2.5 lens, the 4.0 inch lens, and the 1.5 inch lens all have negative 8.3. Well, if I had different lenses, I would have different tools. This is a 2-inch lens. It means it's approximately 2 inches from here to here. A 1.5-inch lens would have a shorter focus tool. A 2.5 would have a longer one, and a 4-inch would even have a longer one than that. So what you would have to do is for each tool that you had for the different heights, you go in, choose the appropriate lens for that tool, and zero it out on the table using the tool. Get it? Mm-hmm. But in this case, most people only have the 2-inch lens, and they only have the 2-inch tool. That's the standard feature. The other lenses are optional.
Had you already set that zero on that?
I set the zero.
Because I didn't see what key you pressed to actually set it.
Okay, what I did was, current lens was the 2. I focused using it up and down here, and then went down to set focal length. Select, are you sure? Yes. Boom. Now it's 0. Now what I like to do, so in case people accidentally choose a different lens, let's say they chose that by mistake.
Set them all to 0.
Set them all to 0 because they don't have another tool, they don't have another lens. Set them all to 0. This way there's no confusion.
And they'll know they made a mistake.
Then they can't make a mistake, see? Whatever lens that they choose, they're going to be using the right number. It's not so much important here, but it's very important in autofocus. This is why, Vincenzo, that most people think autofocus doesn't work. It's because they have it set to the wrong lens, or it's not calibrated properly. Now we're going to calibrate. Now we're going to do autofocus, because the tool, we never have to reset. The height we do if we flash, and the autofocus we have to do if we flash. So now we'll turn on autofocus, preferences, options, autofocus, off, on. Okay? Now autofocus is on. We put something like this in the autofocus zone. It can be anywhere on the table, as long as you're within this gap of the ruler. Put it here, put it there, doesn't matter. I'm going to stick it there so it's faster. Press C. It's going to go down till the beam clears the top of the material, and then it's going to move back up and stop. Now, it's going to be off because we flashed the machine. It's usually off by about quite a lot. It's usually off by like a 1/4 inch or so. 1/4 inch to 3/10 of an inch. So now, while we're still in this mode, and I didn't get out of this mode, go ahead and press select and bring the table up until we're focused on the material using the tool. There, 0.26. I said 1/4 inch, not bad. But yes. So now, you set focal length, done. Oops. So that it reads 0 with that lens. I'm going to set all the other ones. Okay, let's put it back on the 2-inch lens. And now, let's just try it again. Autofocus. Put our tool back on. We should be right on the money now.
I like the autofocus, man.
I like it too.
Look,
It's great.
perfect. Now everything that we do is going to be it's calibrated now. Because we're making sure that the table's position works with this tool. Hey, look at that. Right on the money.
Okay.
If you have a rounded surface like this, okay, let's pretend this is a lens. Here's the beam going through the lens. Now the lens is shaped plano-convex. Plano, flat, convex, rounded. The rounded part's on the top, so when the beam comes in, this is like coming from the inner focus carriage, beam comes in like this, it sharpens it to a point. And that point is your focal distance. Let's say it's 1.5 inches. Okay, and then it diverges back out again. So it comes in and goes right back out. The shorter the lens that you have, the quicker it comes in and the quicker it goes out. So you have very limited range of focus. So the dot remains small, only in a smaller area. So if you have an object that's not perfectly flat, kind of lumpy, it'll go in and out of focus very quickly. That's why it's not an advantage to use a 1.5-inch lens on a lumpy or irregular surface, because you'll come in and out of focus too fast. However, the 1.5-inch lens is the best to use for fine detail because it has the smallest spot as long as your material is very flat. Okay? As you start to get longer with the lenses, 2-inch, 2.5, 4 inches, it meets further down. the focus point is further down the scale, so it's longer and longer out. You have a greater range of focus. So if you had to do an object like a baseball or a baseball bat that has a curvature like this, you wouldn't use a 1.5, because if you focus on the surface and come out of focus over here, like with a 4-inch lens, it's coming into a slightly wider spot, and you would focus midpoint between, say, here and here, and you'd have this effective range of focus throughout that whole area.
Would it be
So-
dark in the middle though? Would it be super dark in the middle?
Dark where? Here?
No, right
Here?
Yeah.
No, no. As you balance it out, it remains the same because your
That's why
focal
he
point.
Can you
focused
still
in
get
the
the
middle.
fine point
Yeah.
out of that
No,
same lens?
you can't. See, your trade-off is if you want a good focal range, your spot's going to be bigger, so you're going to lose some detail. But something like a
So
baseball
it never
bat
comes
with
down
big
to a real
lens, there's no
point, and that
difference.
never comes down to a point.
Right, not as sharp as it should be. Higher power density. Okay, so this is the reason why we have the different lenses for different
So
applications.
the biggest one is the 4-inch lens.
Yeah.
Are they more expensive or they're all around
No, it's the same price. And when we sell these things, we sell them as a kit. So it comes together, the lens, the mirror, the front. You have the kit, right?
The
You
frame
just had
too, or you got
The whole thing. This is a kit.
I keep spares of those for install.
That's a kit. See, the whole assembly comes like that. Because you don't just change the lens, you know,
Right.
like we did. You wanted to be able to pop this in and out really quickly. Lens, trickier, people don't really know, and I don't really say it anywhere. I don't publish this information. When the beam comes out over here, it's a bit smaller than it is over here. That's because when it comes out of a laser tube, you're restricting the path. The beam kind of goes out like this on a very small divergence angle. So the further and further you go out, like I was telling you with the balloons and everything,
Ooh, like with a flashlight.
yeah, like with a flashlight, the light goes out.
Right.
So you stand here with light, it's small, over on the wall it's big. Same thing with a laser. Here it's a bit smaller than it is over here. When you take a small beam and go through a lens, you don't have such a sharp angle. So your power density isn't as great. This dot isn't as small as it should be. If you have a big beam going into the same lens, it comes in at a much sharper angle, you have a higher power density. So what I'm telling you is that in this corner over here, you have the smallest spot size. The further away you go from the source of the laser, the smaller the point becomes and more detail you have. So if you have to do extremely fine detail and stuff and you want the smallest spot possible, engrave down here in the lower right hand corner.
Just make sure that your alignment is on.
Oh, obviously.
Well, you would think it would be the total opposite. that
You would think so,
the
closer.
Right.
Right. But how you get the smallest spot is you expand the beam.
Right.
And we use beam expanders to make it bigger to get the smallest spot. Kind of screwy, but that's the way it works. Your laser power. Now that everything's aligned and all that kind of stuff, we're going to take a laser power meter and we're going to actually measure the temperature of the laser to make sure we've got our 50 watts. Now, I brought a power meter with me.
You will us do this?
Yeah, I do. Can you use this one, Ben?
Which one?
This is the one that we're used to. And the one that they'll be using. The simulator.
Alright, we can use that.
I know you have that other one.
I have the
there.
meat thermometer, the cable, and disconnect this motor by unplugging it. Simple. Now we're going to go ahead and turn this thing on. This way we don't have this to get in our way. We're going to hit buttons, it's going to move around. We don't want to knock anything around. So just disconnect those two things. Now we'll show you this method. This is a thermometer. I rotate the dial until it becomes 0. Okay. I place this in here and hook it right to the rail like that. Whoops. Reset it to 0. I close the door, go to alignment mode, like we did for the alignment, except that instead of 3% power, we go to 100% power.
Where you position that, it's not going to really matter?
Nope, because
It's the
it's in the
beam's
path
coming.
of the beam. It's hitting right there. Now I take a watch with a second hand and we time it for 20 seconds. I'll make sure I'm still on 0, which I am. I'm going to go ahead and time it for 20 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. and stabilize. It's rising, it's still rising, it's still rising. Kind of tap it. Make sure the needle didn't stick. We've got about 62 watts. Okay, 62 watts. Nice. Okay. Now, we'll take this other one and we'll try it. Now, whoever's been using this has been marking it up pretty badly. Because you're not supposed to focus on this. When you focus on it, it starts to engrave it. You're not supposed to engrave it. You're supposed to just measure the entire beam. So what we've done here, this is the surface where the beam is hitting unfocused. Now, if I took this thing and stuck it right under the lens and the focus point, it'll start etching it too.
Is that what you were doing?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you don't do that, and then you mess it up. So what we have to do here now, actually, is because we don't really have a way of holding it, we're just going to put it right underneath the lens, but out of focus. So I'm going to bring it all the way up as far as we can, so that we're out of focus. Oh, there we go. Oh, I have to put things in place. Alright, let's do this. There. Okay, it's right underneath the lens.
You wouldn't think that we could get a good reading on the power, though. Is it just not really measuring heat, it's measuring...
Well, it's measuring heat over time, not the concentration of heat. Okay? You're not measuring the heat of the focus spot. You're measuring the entire beam. Because the focus point is the
So the meter knows, like, however wide it is, it's going to give you a different...
It's measuring heat over time. Right, but what I'm saying is if you're in focus, it's not that it's measuring it differently, you start to damage your tool.
Right.
You start engraving on it. And it decalibrates the system. Because now the same amount of heat is transferred differently to the electronics. Because it's etched. So we're going to go here now, and we're going to go back to alignment mode. And we're going to go to 100% power. 10 kilohertz. Now I'm going to push this button right here. As soon as I push this button to reset it, I'm going to close the door and hit the button. So we're going to hold this button down, let it go, and fire it. I heard it beep. It beeps at you. It says beep, 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 beep. We usually after about 5 seconds you shut it off. 60.3. Okay, well we measured 62. It's close enough. This might be slightly miscalibrated, or I might have had it on a quarter of a second too long as far as
But that's all you need to know.
Yeah, you want to get an approximate reading. 22. Exactly. Now what do we consider good and what do we consider bad? That's good thought.
Those
Question.
are pretty accurate, huh? Pretty accurate, these.
Yeah, they're very accurate. As a matter of fact, actually, we measured 60, but we could have lost 2 watts because we measured it here, whereas over this time we measured it here. Now, I measured mine here without these 3 optics into consideration. So we're going through 3 more optics, you get a little bit of losses there. So you could definitely lose 2 watts between there and there. Now, if I wanted to do this again, in this position, let's go ahead and try it again and see if we get about the same measurement. I'm going to do it just like that, the same way. That's strange.
First time ever.
Yeah.
I think that piston.
Pop the cap off and...
The piston was bad?
Yeah, I couldn't move it. I wouldn't go back and forth.
Oh, really?
It's kinda like,
That's probably what did it.
You know,
Who knows?
jammed.
Huh. That's rare. Okay, let's go ahead and do this. And how we do it,
What do you need?
I got it right here.
What?
Are you signed off already?
Oh yeah.
You take a small screwdriver, and you can see these little tiny gaps. Right, like there's one right here. You get in there, you can just pry it out like this, the little caps. See? Pry the cap off. Once you pry the cap off, you get in there and you just pop it out like that. See?
Wow, it's too easy.
Same thing with both sides. Excuse me. And as far as the shock is concerned, you put the shaft down instead of up. This keeps it lubricated. Okay. When you go back in, pop it into place. Put your cap back on.
Now I have to replace the whole door.
You're
Just
gonna replace the whole door, right? So what you do is take these 4 screws out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pop the 2 bottom ones out. They're gonna probably give you shocks too.
Yeah,
with it.
I ordered the shock too.
These 2 come out. Take these 4 screws out. The whole thing comes right out.
That's easy, man.
Yeah. As far as like maintenance would be concerned here, so I'm gonna take this off.
Oh, I always keep those in.
Yeah, no. Well, the reason why I don't take it off is I have to get the table up as high as I can. Exhaust cleaning.
Very rarely done.
Very rarely done, but can be done. It will need to be done at a certain point. Because people will complain if they're not getting good extraction and all that kind of stuff.
Is this going to happen from the back?
Yes, we have to do this from the back. Okay. In the back of the machine, there are 2 screws. This is actually in the manual.
I've never done this either.
Okay?
I am guilty as
Okay,
charged.
take the screws out. And now, come to the front. You open the front door. This is going to get you in a second now. This is what we're
Bring the table up all the way.
as far as you can go.
Without the rotary clamp in there. It'll get-
Okay? Then grab the plenum, lift it up like that, roll it down, and out of the machine.
Julie, can you get that light there, please?
Oh, it's not bad.
Oh, we don't do a lot of it.
We don't do much in grading. Sure. So now you can see that there's a couple of hooks here, and they hook on 2 screws that are into the wall. There you go.
So you go back in there, spray that area, clean it
Yeah,
all
clean it,
up.
wipe it all out, wash it, whatever.
No, Julie, no.
It's fine.
It's fine.
But what happens is sometimes really, like probably Rawlings and those guys, I bet you this is full of debris because wood resin will build up so thick in here that it actually clogs the holes. You get in there with a scraper, you scrape the stuff out of it.
Also rubber stamp.
And rubber stamp people too. You got I've been in there with